Hello, everyone. Welcome to Donny's World and Wellness Wednesday, which is all about my desperate quest for self-improvement on every level: mind, body, spirit, emotions, health in general. But most important of all to me is weight loss, because being this big is dangerous in terms of things like strokes and heart attacks. You're more likely to get such illnesses when you're overweight. So those of you who've been watching for the past couple of weeks will want to know how much progress I've made on the weight loss front. Well, I haven't been as sort of like doggedly observant around fasting as I would like to be, but I think I'm going to get better. And I'm happy to report that I've lost 3 kilos since last Wednesday. Some of you want to know exactly what type of fasting I'm doing, because I did mention from the beginning that that was the system I was going to try and use around weight loss. And the truth is, there's nothing complicated about the method I'm using. I'm literally just having days when I eat absolutely nothing and only drink water or herbal tea or black coffee, no sugar, no additives. And I will go into this whole fasting thing in more detail later. And at that point, I will share with you some of the very important tips my fasting coach, whose name is Rue Black, has shared with me. But for now, I just want to show you a clip from a conversation I had with an English girlfriend about different cultural attitudes towards weight in Europe and Nigeria. Hello, everyone. I've recently interviewed my friend and a very talented artist, Alakija, about her life, her work, and her marriage to a Nigerian man. Now, I just want to briefly ask her about one of my major obsessions, which is weight loss and weight gain. The reason I've picked on her is because we're both, she's in her 50s.
Yeah.
Okay. She's in her 50s. I'm in my early 60s. And I've noticed that a lot of white women of our generation are super slim. In fact, I've noticed that many of my white friends are super slim throughout their lives. And whereas with Nigerian women, many of us start off slim and just get fatter and fatter and fatter as the years go by. And it's not really frowned on here unless you get completely out of control. But, after a certain age, in Nigeria, you're expected to be a bit overweight, a bit chubby, a bit fresh, as they often call it. Fresh as opposed to haggard. Because they have this thing about how being very slim is dry and haggard. So what do you think? Have you noticed there's a cultural difference around weight issues here?
Oh, massive cultural difference. But there's truth in that if you're very lean and slim, you do show your age more than if you've got a bit of weight on you, right? And so some women, especially white women, if they get too skinny, they look haggard. And it's not a good look as you're getting older. And yes.
Well, I think you look great. I'd rather look like you than like myself. But then that may be because I grew up in the UK and I developed this obsession with thinness there. So
yes, I'm glad you said that. So I definitely, my kids and probably most of my friends would say I have an issue with food. I have a very bad relationship with food, and I know that. I'm obsessed by. I'm always convinced I'm overweight. I don't think there's a day that I wake up in the morning and I think, I've got this. I'm not overweight.
Do you feel fat now?
This very minute, not, because I didn't have lunch today. But I will wake up tomorrow more determined not to eat too much. I always think that I'm overweight. And then you look back at photographs of yourself 5-10 years ago and you think, wasn't overweight then. And then you think, oh, I wish I could be as slim as that now. And then my friends are saying, but like you are.
Yes.
So I have a very poor relationship with food.
Actually, one thing I've noticed about you, based on a couple of comments you've made, is that if you have a good meal today, it preys on your mind and you want to sort of like starve it off or exercise it off the next day. So it's like you're just very preoccupied with the calories you've put in your body and you want to get rid of them.
Absolutely. I'm incapable of having dessert without feeling it's not even the next day. Then I better go for like 5K walk immediately after. And my children know this and always laughing about it. So yeah, that's the way I am. Glad you mentioned, it might be the British influence in you that, growing up in the 80s, 70s and 80s, we all grew up with a little calorie counter book, right? And we started the day. And so to date, I can tell you exactly how many calories is in a slice of Ribena. That's kind of what we grew up with. And keeping fit. I think my family is probably exceptionally fit. And I'm probably the least fit of anybody in my family. So it's not a healthy relationship I have with food. I do like to keep fit.
But would you say my relationship is healthy? Because mine isn't either. I'm at the other extreme. I eat for comfort. I eat for pleasure. I eat when I'm lonely. I just, and this is the result. To be fair, I gained weight actually because I was on medication after a very traumatic event, which was a kidnapping that I've talked about before on this channel. But the point being that I've always been an eater and I've not lost the weight that I gained.
So, but you enjoy eating.
I do enjoy eating.
I would say when you're talking about women of our age in Nigeria, they tend to put on weight. Yeah, I would say that quite a few of my Nigerian women friends of our age tend to put on weight. But you know what? Maybe the first ones to put up their hands and say, because we love our food, right?
But the doctors don't agree with us anymore. I mean, again, in the traditional Nigerian culture, actually, a man would be ashamed if his wife looked like you.
Exactly.
Traditionally, at least in some parts of the country. You know what I mean? Great face, but she's too thin. You're not taking good care of her.
I know, right?
Yeah. That's changing.
Yeah.
But generally, I find that the men here are more tolerant of excess weight. In fact,
they love it.
Well, I'm getting so fat that some of them are actually saying to me, okay, it's enough. You don't have to get any fatter than you are now. You've reached the limit. But yes, men here are much more relaxed. And as you say, some of them actually love the rolling fat.
But Tony, why don't you flip it? And what do Nigerian women look for in their men at this age? I mean, do they like their men skinny and slender?
They like their men to pay bills. That's the main thing they look for. I'm sorry, but that's my observation. I don't think they really care what the guy looks like.
Okay, because that's a really European comment I just came out with.
No, honestly, I never hear Nigerian women having any opinion about the way men look.
Whereas you would hear British European women,
yes,
even at our age,
yes,
talking about the kind of guy which is their spec, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But there is a factor that we now all have to consider, regardless of cultural attitudes, which is health.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not on anymore to be fat. Yeah. It's just not on anymore to be fat. There's issues like diabetes, heart disease, strokes. Doctors will nag you to shed weight. Oh, thank goodness they've turned the lights on. Thank you, Mr. Caretaker. I have no control about when that happens. And I was beginning to worry that as it got darker and darker, we would disappear into oblivion. But I must tell you that sitting outside, drinking at night, is one of the things that has brought me to where I am today. It's a hobby of mine. And do you like drinking?
What do you think?
Yeah, well, I kind of know. I was asking that question for other people, not for myself.
Yes, I do. And as you know, alcohol, full of calories, so it's a tough one. So a friend of mine goes back a little while, a couple of years ago in Lagos, and I tried not to drink during the week, right? So I said Monday to Friday, no alcohol. So I met up with him one evening. I said it's an alcohol-free day, right? It's the week. So guy came to serve us and said, "What are you drinking?" I said, "Whiskey." Yeah, that's not really a drink. So whiskey is purely medicinal.
So um, I'm going to start a journey to try and look more like you. Um, I think a point will come if I'm successful, and I pray, and I'm sure I'll be successful because I'm serious now. A point will come at which Nigerian men, I'm not talking about boyfriends or lovers, by the way, just friends, brothers, cousins, friends, husbands, pals, when they'll say stop. And that point will be a long way before I start looking like, let's say, Catherine, Princess Case, the Princess of Wales in the UK. A lot of men here shake their heads sadly and say, that girl needs to have a meal. She's too thin.
I think a lot of people say that, not just men here. I think quite a lot of people around the world wish you just
eat a little
bit more, please.
So, and do you think you'll ever get over your neurosis? Because, let's face it, you have a neurosis about eating at all. I have a neurosis about eating way too much. Whether I gain weight or not is neither here nor there. I've always eaten too much. Yeah? Do you think we can get over them at this age?
I don't know. I look at my mum, who's 88 and who still goes for 3 walks a day and still sees eating far too much cream cake, which she loves, as something vaguely sinful and needs walking off after. And I kind of hope I do, but 58, yeah, I hope I do.
Okay, well, on that very cheering note, I think we should say thank you, and let's see how it goes with. Because I've got a bigger problem than you, so let's just pray that I start solving my problem and that I become visibly slimmer, and so I can walk and breathe properly. And I don't even want to tell you about the problems I have because of my obesity. Thanks for coming. Okay, so here are some of the comments I've received from people who watched last week's Wellness Wednesday video. There's Jennifer Clifford, who very, very sensibly advises me not to have food that I shouldn't eat in the house, because obviously if you have lots of cheesecake lying around, you are going to succumb probably. She's in New Zealand. Hello, New Zealand. Thank you for taking the trouble. And then, there's Lorna Henry in southern Spain. Very encouraging. Thanks, Lorna. There's Moya Greaves. I'm sorry I'm losing my voice. Partly because I vape, which is a sort of like milder form of smoking, which we'll talk about later, because like I said, this channel is about self-improvement and health generally, and I definitely need to give up electronic cigarettes, having given up the real ones a few years ago. So, because electronic cigarettes make you cough as well. So, hey, we'll talk about that another time. Okay, so Moya is very impressive. She has lost nearly 60 kilograms by swimming and controlling her food intake. She does treat herself to nice things that she likes that aren't particularly healthy, but she makes sure she doesn't overdo it. And she has osteoarthritis. I'm really sorry to hear that, Moya. And I am going to copy your swimming habits soon as I can fit into a swimsuit, which I can't at the moment. Then there's someone called Gigi Cheesecake, rather intriguingly. And she says, keep up the good work. I admire your honesty about habits and patterns you need to improve. And she says she's on the same journey. So please keep me posted, and I will keep you posted. Emma J Music, who uses a pinch of glycine powder whenever she's hit with a sugar craving. And she's a big fan of movements. So sometimes it's a bit difficult to give people a shout out if they don't give their real names. But I'm picking Celine, then someone called AM5374, and someone called JM162. Thank you for your encouragement. I'm pointing out that, if it takes you a long time to put the weight on, it's going to take you a long time to take it off. But you mustn't be discouraged because, as long as you maintain a steady pace, you'll be fine. I really like the fact that you come from all over the world. I mean, AM5374 is from Austria, which I love, by the way. I used to go to a spa in Austria, which I think I mentioned in last week's video. Thank you for your positive vibes. And JM162, yes, you're right. The traumatic experiences have definitely added to my, kind of like mental problems. And you say you're going to look into Dr. Fung, and I think you should. I found his book a revelation, very, very handy. And I'm going to give a little bit of time to Patricia Wask, because she makes a number of interesting points. One is that she is not comfortable with me referring to myself in such negative, derogatory terms. She thinks it's self-defeating. I should stop criticizing myself. I should be positive and proud. I'm on the path to self-improvement by simply identifying that I have a problem and setting goals. And that even if I only achieve 1/3 of my goals, it's a great improvement. And you're right, Patricia. I mean, it's true. Anything is better than nothing in the quest for self-improvement. But I kind of disagree with you around this issue of not being critical of yourself, because I think the reason that some of us have gotten to where we are in terms of being too fat or not successful enough or not happy enough in relationships or whatever, is because we're too easy on ourselves. I think, I find people who never criticize themselves, I actually find them a little bit concerning, because you can see all the ways in which they're going wrong, but they never admit that they're making any mistakes. And I believe in tough love towards myself. And even when I was bringing up my son, who's now nearly 30, it was the same thing. Kind of, you mess up, I think you should say so. To yourself or to people you're close to people who work for you, to people in your family. Because sometimes, people trundle along thinking, well, I'm not doing too badly, I'm fine as I am. And they're not. I'm certainly not. But I hear you, and, I will definitely be less hard on myself as time goes by if I manage to stick to some of my objectives and have a clear, improvement that is visible and palpable. You also advise that I should throw out the measurements and the weighing. And again, I totally understand why you say that, because you think it's more about the holistic thing, about just feeling better, getting stronger, breathing easier, and enjoying healthier food choices. But there are a lot of people who are very interested in exactly how much weight I lose and in exactly how many inches I lose. And I kind of feel obliged to keep them posted. I myself find it useful to know how much I'm going down or up, or how much I'm staying the same. But don't worry, I'm not going to subject myself to the tyranny of numbers, In fact, that's one of the points that Dr. Fang makes, and also Rue, my fasting coach, and some of the women and men who moderate the Facebook fasting group I belong to, is, don't take the numbers too seriously. They're always. Sometimes you may not even have lost any weight when you step on the bathroom scale, and yet your clothes fit better. So, I know that, you mustn't allow numbers to completely dominate your thinking, but let's see how it goes. And then thanks for your tips on food and loads and loads of really healthy, useful information, which I appreciate. And thank you for saying I should be nicer to myself. But to me, being nicer to myself means actually kicking my ass to get out of the rut, to get out of the mess, to get out of the dark tunnel. Because when you don't do that, you kind of like stay where you are or mark time. I don't know. Let's see how it goes. I mean, it's a psychological approach, isn't it? And not everybody has the same one. Okay, so that's all for today. See you next Wednesday on Wellness Wednesday. But also, I hope you will tune in on Friday for my general show about general issues. It's called Thank God It's Friday. It runs every Friday, just like Wellness Wednesday runs every Wednesday. So, see you on Friday, I hope. Bye.